Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm your host, Rolene Marks, bringing you today's top stories. And I couldn't be more delighted than to bring you this first story, which is to announce that within the last hour or so, the Bereshit spacecraft successfully completed the maneuver that it needs to do to enter lunar orbit in order to prepare for its landing on the 11th of April. Now, this is an incredible achievement and we are all bursting with pride, and I think that on the 11th of April, if all goes according to plan, and we are all systems go, when that spacecraft lands on the moon, I think this country is going to burst with pride, and there will be more than a few teary-eyed people, including myself. So, B'hatzlacha Bereshit, we are all holding thumbs, we are all watching with tremendous pride at this achievement as you join 3 other countries, China, Russia, and the United States, in this historical landing. And taking a look at other headlines, Prime Minister Netanyahu left today for Moscow to meet with the Russian Premier Vladimir Putin. On the agenda as they meet will be discussing Syria, discussing issues in Syria, and also discussing the way that Israel and the Russian army or the Russian military can cooperate. And yesterday we spoke about the huge news story that Staff Sergeant Baumel was returned after 37 years. His remains were returned to Israel for burial. And as the story is unfolding, we have learned that the Russian army, in coordination with the Syrian military, were able or were responsible to help Israel and Israel's intelligence apparatus in locating the remains and bringing them home. And there is very, very moving images on social media and on the news of the Russian army with the coffin draped in the Israeli flag, with Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Putin paying tribute to this brave soldier who fell in defense of his country. And President Putin has promised that some other personal belongings that belong to Staff Sergeant Baumel will be returned to Israel. And our prayers are that his memory be forever blessed, and that he may now rest in peace. He will be buried at 7 p.m. this evening on Mount Herzl at the military cemetery in Jerusalem. And now further afield to France, and French police have arrested the mastermind behind the Toulouse massacre that killed a rabbi and 3 children. The 21-year-old suspect, who is not named, considers himself the heir to Mohammed Merah, another terrorist who was responsible for the murder of Jews in Europe. And we applaud the French police for their vigilance and their commitment to catching this terrorist. So those are the top stories making headlines today. We'll all be watching next week. And next week, the Israel Brief goes on location to Miami. So I'll be bringing you the news, the top stories in Israel from the gorgeous city of Miami, as I'm delighted to join my Witzo USA Chavirot at their national convention, and I cannot wait. Just a reminder that you can read our content online at www.layoftheland.online. That is www.layoftheland.online. There is a 2-part series on Gaza, an article written by Dave Kaplan, and another article written by myself. You can get your briefs if you missed them, and you can check out all our interesting articles from a variety of different writers in our archives. And also join our growing Facebook community. Like us, follow us on Facebook at Lottel Site. And also, if you like your Israel Brief fresh with your coffee, you can click on the subscribe button below or on the little bell icon, which will notify you every time we post. I am Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, and I will speak to you next week from Miami.